From the invasion of Poland up until the official victory over Japan, this is the complete timeline of the Second World War. You will learn about literally every event that happened during this war, from major events to small happenings that changed the course of war. We will talk about these events briefly, but if you want in-depth documentaries about the specific events, subscribe. Let's get started with the year 1940. January 8. The British start rationing their food and stimulates people to grow their own food at home. January 18. Germany authorizes an undersea war. U-boats can now sink regular freighters. February 1st, the Soviets renew their offensive. February 12, Soviets break through the Mannerheim Line and conquer Suma. The Finnish retreat. February 16th and 17th, the German supply ship the Altmark, carrying 300 prisoners of war, is chased by the HMS Cossack. 38 officers and soldiers enter the Altmark, carrying guns with bayonets, and free the POWs, killing 8 Germans. March 1st, Hitler's Directive No. 10A tells German generals to prepare for an invasion of Denmark and Norway, in a reaction to an expected British offensive in Scandinavia. March 2nd, Soviets launch a 3-part attack on Viipuri, the second city of Finland. March 12, the surrender of Finland blocks Allied plans for an invasion in Scandinavia to secure iron and keep the region out of German hands. March 13, the Finnish Minister of Foreign Affairs, Väinö Tanner, announces the end of the Winter War, calling in an armistice or ceasefire between the Soviets and the Finns starting at 11 a.m. The Soviets lost 200,000 men, the Finns 25,000. March 16, the first British civilian dies in a bombardment on Scapa Flow on the Orkney Islands. March 18, Hitler meets up with Benito Mussolini. Benito Mussolini failed to convey Hitler to wait with his Western offensive so that Italy had time to prepare its army, but assured Hitler that the Italian army was ready to help Germany in a war against Great Britain and France. March 21st, the British submarine, the HMS Ursula, sank the first German freighter, the Heddernheim, with a torpedo a couple of miles of the shore of the Danish coast. Also on this day, Paul Reynaud forms a new French government after Edouard Daladier resigns after critique on his Finland policies. March 27th, French and German artillery fight in the Saarland and the Vosges. If you have found value in this video this far, please consider subscribing. We have more interesting videos on the Second World War coming out. March 28, Great Britain and France unite against Germany. During a meeting in London, the Allied Supreme War Council states that both Great Britain as well as France would not sign an armistice, ceasefire, or any other agreement with consent of both parties. Members of the Allied Supreme War Council were Winston Churchill and Paul Reynaud. March 30th, a pro-Japanese government is installed in China. Wang Jingwei installed a Japanese-controlled government in Nanking. His hope was peace between China and Japan, but was of little influence and only recognized by the Axis forces. The authority of this government quickly diminished. Let's continue. April 3rd, Operation Wilfred starts. The British plan to plant mines in Norwegian waters to prevent German iron transport gets approved. April 7th, the British fleet leaves Scapa Flow and heads to the Norwegian Sea. April 8, the British destroyer Glowworm is sank whilst placing mines in the Norwegian Sea by the German cruiser Hip. April 9th, the German invasion of Denmark and Norway. Norwegian cities Bergen and Trondheim quickly fall in the hands of German troops. Paratroopers conquered airports in Oslo and Stavanger, and German destroyers sank the Norwegian battleships, the Eidsvold and Norge. Denmark quickly surrenders. The Danish King Christian X saw there was little chance of beating the German army. Due to his quick surrender, the Danish government would stay active, although under German supervision. April 10th, 5 British destroyers arrived too late to prevent a German landing at Narvik, but of the 10 hostile destroyers, managed to sink 2. 2 of the British destroyers were lost just before the reinforcements arrived, whom helped sink the rest of the German destroyers. April 13th, British troops landed on the Faroe Islands after the government accepted British protection. April 15 to 18, British troops land on the Lofoten Islands, Namsos and Andalsines in Norway, in an attempt to conquer Trondheim. April 26th, Norwegian and British troops stopped the German advance at the Norwegian Kvam in the Gudbrandsdal Valley. April 29th, the Norwegian King Haakon gets evacuated. May 1st, Hitler orders the invasion of Western Europe, also known as Operation Fall Kelp, a long-planned attack on Belgium, the Netherlands, and France. May 2nd, British troops evacuate Namsos and lead the defensive line of southern Norway. May 3rd and 4th, Norwegian troops in Trondheim surrender, making it possible for the German troops to move north. May 5th, the German spy Hermann Gortz seeks support at the Irish Republican Army for a planned German invasion of the United Kingdom. May 10th, the German invasion of the West starts with the German attack on Luxembourg, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Paratroopers took over the Dutch bridges over the Rhine. British and French troops enter Belgium to stop the German advance. Also on this day, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain resigns and is directly replaced by Winston Churchill. May 12, while German troops in Belgium advance to France, the Allied troops form a defensive line at the Dial to the Ardennes, protecting the French border. On this day, the German general Paul Ludwig von Kleist executed a surprise attack with armored vehicles on Sedan in the Ardennes. Also on this day, the British start interning 3,000 hostile and 11,000 non-hostile foreigners. May 14th, the French defense fail and the German troops break through the Dial line. May 15, the Netherlands capitulates and surrenders to Germany after the May 14th bombings on Rotterdam. On May 16th, German troops reach the French border. Von Kleist advances to the shore with little resistance. May 17th, German troops enter Brussels and undermine the Belgian resistance. May 19th, Maxime Weygand replaces Maurice Gamelin as commander of the French army. May 20th, the Germans rush through France, breaking up the Allied forces. May 21st, the British launch a counterattack on the French Arras. May 22nd, crypto-analysts of the British Decoding Center in Bletchley Park crack the code of the Enigma machines of the German Luftwaffe. From this moment on, they regularly crack codes, giving the British valuable information. May 23rd, in Belgium, the German troops cross the Scheldt River at Oudenaarde. British troops get evacuated from Boulogne, France. The resistance in Calais was stronger. May 24th, the Germans take a pause at Gravelines Lens, south of Dunkirk, giving the Allied forces a moment to reorganize. May 26th, Operation Dynamo, the mass evacuation of Allied troops from Dunkirk starts. May 27th, German SS troops kill more than 90 British prisoners of war of the Royal Norfolk Regiment in the French town Le Paratus. May 28, Belgium surrenders to the German army. Also on this day, after a long siege, troops of the French Foreign Legion and the Norwegian army take control of Narvik, letting the German Major General Dietel escape to the Swedish border. May 29, German troops conquer Leper and Ostend, completing the occupation of Belgium, removing the French from Lille. June 3rd, the Luftwaffe starts Operation Paula, the first large attack on Paris, with 200 bombers, killing 254. June 4th, German troops occupy Dunkirk and take the last 40,000 French soldiers captive, also retrieving 2,500 abandoned cannons and 75,000 vehicles. June 5th, the Battle of France starts when the German troops cross the Somme River and the Oise-Aisne Canal in an offensive to Paris. June 9th, After evacuating most Allied troops, an armistice or ceasefire ends the Battle of Norway, getting occupied by German forces. Also on this day, the Germans conquer Rouen after crushing the French 10th Army at the Somme River and reaching Aisne, close to Soissons. June 10th, Italy joins the war after declaring war to Great Britain and France. June 11th, 55 Italian bombers bomb Malta. Also on this day, French troops retreat over the Marne, relocating the government from Paris to Tours. Also, the war in northern Africa begins. June 12, the Japanese forces conquer the harbor and airbase of Achang in China. June 13th, Operation Cycle, the evacuation of British and Allied troops out of northwest France, stops. June 14th, Paris falls in German hands. June 15, Soviet troops conquer the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. June 16th, German troops break through the Maginot Line. Also on this day, French Prime Minister Paul Regnault resigns and is replaced by Philippe Pétain. June 18th, Rommel and his 7th Panzer Division take Cherbourg, while his 5th Panzer Division takes Brest. Also on this day, on a radio broadcast, General Charles de Gaulle asks the French to keep resisting against the Germans. June 21st, Italy occupies southern France in the Alps. June 22nd, a French-German armistice is signed under pressure of an imminent defeat. June 28, the USSR forces Romania to surrender Bessarabia and parts of Bukovina. June 29, at the Battle at Moyle, Italian troops attack a British garrison at the border of Kenya and Ethiopia. June 30th, Germany occupies the Channel Islands, which was under British protection. July 3rd, convoys in the canal at Dover are cancelled due to heavy bombings by the Luftwaffe. Also on this day, the British Royal Navy bombs the French fleet in Algeria to prevent the ships falling in German hands. July 9th, British and Italian fleet clash at the Battle of Punta Stilo. July 10th, the Battle of Britain begins when 70 German airplanes bomb southern Wales. July 11th, Pétain becomes head of state in France after President Lebrun resigns. July 14th, Soviet-controlled elections give Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia pro-USSR governments. July 16th, Hitler prepares for an invasion in Britain, called Operation Sea Lion. July 19th, Hitler gives his speech The Final Appeal for Reason, calling Britain for peace. Also on this day, the United States reinforce their navy. July 27th, Japan appoints a region of Asian solidarity, trying to get political control over countries like Thailand and China. August 3rd, around 25,000 Italian soldiers cross the border from Italian to British Somaliland, Eastern Africa. August 11, the British fight the Italian army for 5 days in Tog Argan, Somaliland, finally surrendering. August 15, the Greek cruiser Hel sank in mysterious ways. In the wreckage, Italian torpedo parts were found. Italy denies involvement. August 17, Germany announces a total blockage of British harbors. August 19, Italian troops occupy the capital of British Somaliland. August 24th, the first bombardment in daylight of the city center of London. August 25th, under heavy pressure, the French government allows Japanese troops to station in French Indochina. Also on this day, in China, small British garrisons retreat due to Japanese blockades. August 27th, after the fall of France, French colonies joined the Vichy government, or with the Free French. August 30th, Hungary gives German troops free passage through the country, enjoying the conquering of Romania. September 3rd, President Roosevelt made a deal with Great Britain, trading 50 old destroyers for a 99-year lease on several naval and air force bases. September 7th, 350 Luftwaffe bombers bomb London, killing 400 British civilians. September 10th, Operation Sea Lion is delayed because the Luftwaffe failed to control the skies above the United Kingdom. September 13. Japanese Zero fighter planes make their debut in Chongqing, China. Also on this day, Buckingham Palace gets struck by 5 German bombs, damaging a part of the royal chapel. Also, the Italian invasion of Egypt starts. September 16th, Italian troops occupy Sidi Barrani, close to the Egyptian border. September 17th, the British vessel the City of Benares is sank by a German U-boat. September 18th, the Italian army stops at Sidi Barrani because of supply issues. September 19th, the French colony New Caledonia overthrows its pro-Vichy governor. September 23rd, British and Free French forces try and conquer the Vichy-controlled West Africa, but the governor was informed of this attack, and the troops met maximum resistance. September 25th, American crypto-analysts decode Japanese secret codes. September 27th, Germany, Italy, and Japan sign an agreement, promising to help each other in case of need. The USSR declines. September 30th, the Luftwaffe raids the London sky at daylight for one last time. October 4th, Hitler and Mussolini meet again at the Brenner Pass to talk about their strategy after the fall of France. October 7th, Germany secures Romanian oil from the Plosti oil fields. October 8, after being closed by Churchill, the Burma Road reopens, trying to get Chinese support to act against the Japanese. October 12, Hitler delays Operation Sea Lion again until 1941. October 13, the Chinese army attack Yuchang, being confronted with Japanese chemical attacks. October 16th, the United States reinstates conscription, forcing all men between 21 and 35 to apply for service. October 17th, German U-boats sink 32 ships at the Battle of the Atlantic Ocean. October 20th, Italian planes bomb oil installations in Eritrea. October 21st, the Italian Navy prepares for an invasion in Greece. October 23rd, Hitler and Franco meet up in the French-Spanish border town Hendaye. October 24th, Hitler meets up with Pétain, trying to create some form of cooperation. October 28th, Italy invades Greece. Mussolini directly disobeys Hitler's advice. October 31st, the first British troops land on Crete, giving military support to Greece. Also on this day, the Luftwaffe loses 116 bombers and the RAF 190 fighter planes, ending the battle for Britain. November 5th, German Admiral Scheer sinks 5 ships and their only escort, the HMS Jervis Bay, on the Atlantic Ocean. Also on this day, Roosevelt is elected for his 3rd term as U.S. President. November 10th, British troops under the command of Viscount Slim reconquer Gallabat in Sudan. November 11, the Battle of Toronto tips the scale in favor of the Allied forces in the Mediterranean region. November 12th, Gabon, the last African colony loyal to the Vichy government, switches sides and joins Free France. Also on this day, Soviet Minister of Foreign Affairs, Molotov, visits Berlin to talk about possibilities to join the Axis forces, ultimately failing due to difference in interests. November 14th, the Greek army launches a counteroffensive in Epirus and Macedonia. November 15, Ludwig Fischer, the German governor of Warsaw, closes the ghetto of the city, enclosing 400,000 Jews behind a 10-feet-high wall with barbed wire. November 18th, Italian forces in Epirus are forced back over the river Kalamas. November 19, 350 Luftwaffe bombers bomb Birmingham at night. November 20th, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia join the Axis forces. November 23rd, Belgium declares war to Italy. November 28th, the Luftwaffe bombs Liverpool, killing 300 civilians. December 4th, the Greeks conquer Prometi in southwest Albania. December 5th, plans to invade the USSR codename Operation Otto, are presented in Germany. December 6th, Chief of Staff of the Italian Army, Pietro Badoglio, resigns after the defeat against Greece. December 9th, Operation Compass, the first British offensive in northern Africa starts. British and Indian troops in Egypt conquer Italian encampments in Nibewa and Tamar. December 11, Sidi Barrani is conquered by British troops. December 17th, the British conquer Sollum and Fort Capuzzo at the Libyan-Egyptian border. December 18th, Hitler's Directive 21 affirms plans for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the USSR. December 29th, in one of the worst nights of bombing, 136 German bombers dropped 10,000s of firebombs on the city center of London. Subscribe if you thought this video was interesting and you want to learn more about these topics. This was the year 1940. Click the video on screen right now to see the next part.